On the roof!
Surprise, mother.
What's up guys, Sal here. So it's been only 2 months since the Galaxy S22 Ultra has been officially revealed to the world, yet we are getting some important updates about its successor, the Galaxy S23 already. You see, historically Samsung sticks to Qualcomm and in-house Exynos silicon for its flagship phones, and people's responses are usually negative towards this approach, because the Exynos variant almost always ends up being inferior to its Snapdragon counterpart. Now, Samsung wants to change this by introducing a third chipset variant from Mediatek. A big South Korean publication, Business Insider, reports that Samsung will equip some Galaxy S23 variants with Mediatek chipsets. Now, this is a little confusing because they didn't mention whether they're using the Mediatek chips at the expense of Exynos silicons, or they're planning to introduce a third chipset option where the Galaxy S23 will have the Snapdragon chips in the US, Canada and China, Exynos in Europe and Mediatek in Asia. However, the report did say that Exynos will lose ground as a result, indicating that we'll likely see Samsung using Mediatek processor in some regions, probably in Asia, whereas the US and Europe will continue to get Snapdragon and Exynos respectively. Now, this strategy is not bad at all in my opinion. You see, a lot of you may not know this, but Mediatek is the biggest chipset maker in the world, even ahead of Qualcomm. The reason you may not know this is they don't have a good presence in the flagship scene, with the majority of their chipsets ending up being in the sub $400 smartphones. But from the past couple of years, Mediatek has been making amazing flagship SoCs. The recent Dimensity 9000 actually has a better Geekbench score than both the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 and the Exynos 2200. So Samsung using the Mediatek chips on the Galaxy S23 is actually good news. The report also mentions that half of the Galaxy S22 FE units scheduled to launch later this year will also be equipped with Mediatek chipsets. Now, Samsung switching to Mediatek doesn't mean it's the end of Exynos, because Samsung CEO told his employees that Samsung will create a chipset tailor-made for the Galaxy smartphones and tablets, just like how Apple makes their chipsets exclusively for their iPhones, iPads and their Mac lineup. Now, a lot of you may wonder, isn't Exynos exactly that? Well, not really. You see, Samsung Mobile and Samsung LSI are two different divisions in Samsung. Samsung's LSI division makes the Exynos chips, and it designs them in such a way that any smartphone maker can use them in their smartphones, which means the Exynos chips are not exclusive to Samsung. Just like Vivo and Oppo, Samsung Mobile outsources the Exynos chips from Samsung's LSI division. But Samsung CEO said they'll change that going forward. Now, Samsung will make chipsets specifically for the Galaxy lineup of smartphones. This means the chipset will now communicate better with other components in a phone, since Samsung can tweak the chipset exactly to their needs. To be honest, this sounds great on paper, but we've seen Samsung overpromise and underdeliver, especially with the Exynos chipsets in the past. So I'm not really holding high expectations, but still hoping for this new strategy to change things for Samsung. Of course, for all the latest updates on this phone, be sure to subscribe, and as always, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.